Very important, very important. Peace. This is your boy Amir Ariel Kamara, better known as Ngozi. And I wanted to teach a quick demonstration on Moorish science or Moorish history about who are the Moors. It's very important for us to understand who these Moors or who these people are who lived in the Maghreb, which is the west, or the western people of the Sahara, or the navigators of the Sahara, or the dark race that the Macedonians and certain people from southern Europe came across and called Moros, which meant scorched, or the indigenous tribe of Mori, which lived in Mauritania, was very similar to the Tariq that we find in the Sahara. I wanted to talk about General Tariq in 711 AD, who was a mountain Berber who came from the steeps of Medi Kush, before it was called Medi Kush, when Arabs came in, and he worked for Arabs in between, and they went into so-called southern Europe, which is Spain or the Iberian Peninsula. And then I'll take it to a turning point or a time period around 1040, when we have the Almoravids, a Berber empire who came together collectively around Dra and Niger and the Senegal River and these other zones, and quickly established Medi Kush in Morocco in 1062. These were a brown-skinned population of men, and when they went into, a brown-skinned group of men, population was brown-skinned, they use it out of context, and when they went into the north, they established Medi Kush in Morocco. And up there you had wandering Berbers, or an early Almohad empire, but they wasn't really established yet. These Moors were very important, and they played a major role in creating our first universities in Morocco, and also establishing empires in Spain. It's very important to also understand that the Moors were a collection of people that come from Africa, people that came from Arabia, and even people that were converted into Islam in southern Europe or Spain. It was looked at that time period for being a Muslim, or if you was a Muslim. So if you practice Islam, they labeled you as Moor. You had the Twani Moor, which was the lighter skin, and that's the Berber and the swarthy skinned Arabs. And you also had the blacker Moor, but that's when you start to find little toy objects of people holding things as servants later on. But the blacker population was those ones that came out of Senegal, like the Wolof, the Mindi, which is the Mandinka, and also you had the Tariq type, which is the southern Berbers who live in southern Morocco, southern Algeria, southern Tunisia, which is the original Berber population compared to the ones in the far north. It's also important for us to know about Ishaq ibn Ali. He was killed in 1147. This is when the Moroccan Empire, or the Medi Kush Empire, was lost, and it was taken over by a mountain Berber population, which were called the Almohads. The Almohads, once they took over around 1147, they took over Morocco and Al-Andalus, and took over all the zones that those once Berbers used to have. So when you talk about Berbers, you're talking about different groups of people that wandered through the Sahara looking all types of ways. Some blue-black, some lighter skin, some, swarthy skin. This is a very important time in history that we need to know about, because we fight over it. The Moors were not just one type of people. The Moors were, again, a collection of people. They had no one language, but the major language, because they practiced Islam on for the governmental level, the head language, which was the first language, main language, was Arabic. But everybody didn't speak Arab. It's records that show that some Moors did not speak Arabic, and they were learning. So that was the head language for the government, because they practiced the Islamic system. Even though Medi Kush and Morocco is in Africa, they still were part of that Arabian Union, working for Arabs, trying to spread the faith of Islam. And also we have to understand that when you spread the faith of Islam, you are infusing the Arabian economy. So a lot of it was to empower Saudi Arabia, because they were fighting against the Byzantine. And if you notice also later on, you start to find the Christian crusades who has a strong battle between Islam and Christianity, trying to find a major role in history. The war was going on for a long time. In 1492, the Moors lost to Spain and they was kicked out. When they come back into Africa, a lot of those Moors who were in Spain for years came back and they sacked Timbuktu, the same ones who was part of that Almoravid Empire who helped them. It was the university, and it was the Mandinka, which was the indigenous Niger-Congo speaking population, that would play a major role in Moorish history. But a lot of those Moors who came back sacked it because they looked at it as shirk, which is sinful, because they did certain things. The same thing that we see today that happened with Timbuktu, when the people in the Middle East sent the kite out to try to destroy them and cause a coup. And now they took all our books out of Timbuktu to this day, and it's a war going on now. This shit is still going on between the struggle of so-called Islam and Christianity, and you can see it even going on within our government in the United States of America. It's something serious and it's something real. You have a so-called developed religion that's going against an underdeveloped religion that really never had a chance to voice whatever it's trying to voice. But the Arabian Union and the European Union is in cahoots because they fuel and trade amongst one another. The Arabian Union gives them oil, and the United States give them, certain amounts of resource. But now the Arabian Union take that money and fuse their economy and build major cities like Dubai. So we have to understand what's going on. It's definitely a trade-off between those two. They don't fuck with each other, but they support each other when it comes to this thievery that we call the capitalistic system. Capitalism is what runs the world, and everybody's on board with it. But we have to always take it back in history to see what led us here. Even when we go into the Barbary War in 1805, the Barbary War, the Punic Wars, the struggle between the Punic Wars. Even when you deal with Hannibal, who wasn't a Moor, but he was of Phoenician descent, he would have been classified as a Moor. Before Islam came, you had people from the Levant or Lebanon coming in into North Africa. They went into Tunisia or Tunis, which was called Carthage, and came across the Afri tribe, which was the tribe that Scipio Africanus conquered and took on the name. They were also a Berber or Amazigh type people who was part of Hannibal's military. A lot of them were Phoenicianized because they dealt with the deity El, because a lot of these people from the Levant was going backwards and forward from North Africa to the Levant and having trade-offs. The term Africa also means the dust, because it was a description for the people that lived in the sand. So it's very important for us to understand what's going on in Africa and the history between the Middle Easterns and the North Africans in Europe. And it plays a major role in what we see going on amongst us today. Our direct ancestors who came from Southwest and Central Africa, like Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Sierra Leone, and other parts, were just parts of the prisoners of war, or not just prisoners of war, but victims to collaborators and perpetrators. Perpetrators came in due to the capitalistic system, come together with a few people that were the head chiefs, who were collaborators, who didn't give a fuck about certain tribal leagues that was going against them, and had no problem with giving away certain people. So we have to understand that all this plays a major role in the madness of our history as well. And in order for us to know where we are going, we have to understand the history of Africa, the history of human development, and the history of what occurred and what did not occur within the continent, and all continents, from the sugarcane fields or the sugar plantations. A lot of us with Queen Isabella, she was in cahoots with certain Berbers. Morocco was one of the first countries to acknowledge the United States of America. They had a large trade-off, and Queen Isabella, instead of her taking indigenous Berbers, she took a lot of the sub-Saharan Africans, because it was a rumor that the people worked a certain way, and they were already being enslaved by a lot of the desert Amazigh type people in between. It was trade-offs. But before some of our ancestors was being enslaved, we have to understand that the Niger-Congo population had a major powerful trade market between the Amazigh and us. For example, in Mauritania, which was ran by the Sounke is a Mendi type people, and they're part of the Niger-Congo family. And the Sounke were responsible for giving Berbers in Mauritania North gold when they gave us salt, because a lot of the people in the desert were good with having salts and spices. So a lot of this shit that we see that's going on is based off a trade-off between humanity and what you have to offer and what you don't have to offer. So it's important for us to try to find our role and our development and know what the fuck is going on. And the more you study history, the more you see things clear, and the confusion that you have kind of leaves, and you understand what existence is really about and what humanity is really about. And now you get to know, like, man, who's your enemy and who's not your enemy, and who can become a potential enemy, because you see the stages that different people went through in history for everybody to get in the situation that they're in. Peace and love to the family. Team Osiris on the rising. I'm in Rock Squad up. Much love to everybody out there. I'm going to go ahead and fall back. That was just a quick demonstration on a little bit of African history going down the trail. Peace. Very important, very important. Peace. This is your boy Amir Ariel.